watching Prime Time. I'm Tamanna Inamdar.
And I'm Ayush Alavadi. Let's have a look at today's headlines. As Rahul Gandhi gets set to take over as Congress President, Prime Minister Modi launches a scathing attack, dubs Rahul's expected elevation Aurangzeb Raj.
Vijay Mallya's extradition hearing begins in London. The Indian government argues that the liquor baron must return to face trial. Mallya claims he's the victim of a government conspiracy.
Biocon gains the most in over 16 months after it gets a US FDA approval for a biosimilar jointly developed with Mylan.
The Bombay High Court gives the go-ahead for the merger between 63 Moons and NSEL. The Jignesh Shah company says it will challenge the order in the Supreme Court.
Fitch cuts India's growth outlook, says the economy will grow 6.7% in FY18 from 6.9% earlier, reduces FY19 growth forecast to 7.3% from 7.4%.
Mayor of London Sadiq Khan says the UK needs to rethink its immigration policy in the post-Brexit world, adds that attracting talent from India is the best way to mitigate the challenge. Well, Rahul Gandhi has moved a step closer to becoming the Congress party president. He filed his nomination for the top job today, flanked by senior leaders including Kamal Nath, Sheila Dikshit, Motilal Vora and several others. Rahul signed the documents at the party's 24 Akbar Road headquarters in Delhi. Manmohan Singh was the first proposer in one of 4 sets of nomination papers that the 47-year-old leader filed. Sonia Gandhi was the first proposer in another set. Top Congress leaders like Ghulam Nabi Azad, A.K. Antony, P. Chidambaram, Sushil Kumar Shinde and Ahmed Patel also signed the papers as proposers. If Gandhi remains the only candidate at the end of the day, he will be proclaimed as the Congress chief. This is likely to happen tomorrow. Sonia Gandhi has been the party's longest-serving president, having led the Congress for 19 years since 1998. The Gandhi family scion has been spearheading the party's campaign in Gujarat.
Rahul ji has been the darling of the congressmen and congresswomen, and this is yet another step in his quest for serving the people through the Congress party as a chosen vehicle.
It's his decision, let him do, let us see what he does and what policies he follows, but he has already said that it will be a mixture of experience and the fire in the belly of the youth.
मुझे लगता है कि कांग्रेस बोझा बन चुकी है देश के लिए और अच्छा होगा राहुल गांधी इस बोझा को राहुल गांधी के आने के बाद ये बोझा अपने आप समाप्त हो जाएगा.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called Rahul Gandhi's expected elevation as Congress party president as Aurangzeb Raj. Addressing a rally in Valsad district in poll-bound Gujarat, the Prime Minister referred to Congress leader Manishankar Ayyar's remarks that elections did not happen in Mughal rule. Our sister organization, The Quint, has this special report.
ये औरंगजेब राज उनको मुबारक. ये श्रीमान मणिशंकर अय्यरे આજે કહ્યું છે कि जहांगीर की जगह जब शाहजहां आए क्या तब इलेक्शन हुआ था? जब शाहजहां की जगह पे औरंगजेब आए तब क्या कोई इलेक्शन हुआ था? यह तो पहले से ही पता था कि जो बादशाह है उसकी औलाद को ही सत्ता मिलेगी. भाइयों बहनों, हमारे लिए देश बड़ा है. हमारे लिए 125 करोड़ देशवासी यही भारत का भाग्य विधाता है. અને આ 125 કરોડ દેશવાસી એ જ અમારો હાઈ કમાન્ડ છે.
So can Rahul Gandhi in his new role uplift the Congress? We'll be talking about Rahul Gandhi's ascension and how much does the question of dynasty matter to voters. I'll be joined this evening by Gaurav Gogoi. He is Congress MP from Assam, Nalin Kohli, national spokesperson of the BJP, as well as Yogendra Yadav. Now, the extradition trial of Vijay Mallya began today at Westminster Magistrates Court. Mallya, who is on a £650,000 bail, was arrested in London in April after a consortium of 17 banks accused him of willfully defaulting on more than 9,100 crore rupees in debt accumulated by Kingfisher Airlines. The embattled liquor baron rejected Indian government's charges and called them false, fabricated and baseless. The 61-year-old tycoon was greeted by a swarm of cameras and reporters when he entered the court for his trial. The trial is scheduled to end on the 14th of December.
Well, Susie Ring of Bloomberg News, who's tracking Mallya's trial, is joining us from London. Susie, what really transpired in court today? What are the most recent updates in this case?
So today was the first day of the Vijay Mallya extradition hearing. He was in court, sitting in the dock for the beginning of the hearing. The prosecution is setting out its case at the moment. Effectively, they have told the judge that Mallya has misappropriated about $1.4 billion in funds when he took a number of loans from the bank for Kingfisher Airlines. He disputes this in court documents that haven't been referenced yet, but will be later when his lawyer starts tomorrow, saying that he's effectively a victim of a government conspiracy and that he shouldn't be extradited on the basis that he wouldn't get a fair trial in India and the prison conditions would be in breach of his human rights.
Right, so there was a break during the hearing today and there was an emergency evacuation in the court premises. I want to understand what we can expect in the latter half of the hearing today.
So the prosecution is scheduled to continue to set out their case for the rest of today and possibly running into tomorrow morning. The defence will then spend the majority of the rest of the time on their case disputing why Mallya shouldn't be extradited, and they've also got a number of witnesses, banking witnesses, aviation witnesses, to testify on Mallya's behalf about the charges.
Right, Susie, just as a last question, I just want to understand what we can expect from these extradition proceedings in London. Could you spell out the timelines for us?
We've got the hearing scheduled to run for the next few weeks, not sitting every day, but running until the 14th of December. We would usually expect there to be a couple of weeks until we receive a judgment. That judgment will likely be appealed by whichever side loses to the High Court. So the reality of any final decision on whether Mallya be extradited is unlikely to be made for a number of months yet, because whatever the outcome at this court, the decision will most likely be appealed.
Well, thanks so much for that update, Susie Ring there from Bloomberg News. Now, noted criminal lawyer Majid Memon joins us for more on this hearing. Mr. Memon, the entire Vijay Mallya case is largely represented by this feeling of, being cheated from a lot of media outlets and in the Indian public that Vijay Mallya must come back and repay his dues. But on a legal basis, how strong, in your view, is India's case for extradition?
You see, the proceedings seeking extradition are based upon the request that our country has made to its counterpart, United Kingdom, where the man presently is hiding up. Now, certainly, Vijay Mallya is a resourceful person, and therefore he will have no difficulty in hiring the best of the talents as far as the defense in extradition is concerned. He will have some best brains from India as also from UK, and therefore we should not underestimate or undermine the resistance to extradition, and therefore I think we as a country will have to be there to ensure that we have a foolproof case and a very strong enough evidence to persuade the UK courts to grant a positive order handing over this back to us. Now, let me tell your viewers a couple of things. And as far as the appearance before the Westminster Magistrates Court is concerned, where certain plea may be raised by the fugitive, that is Vijay Mallya, on his behalf, where of course we have also heard that he has challenged the inhuman conditions in Indian prisons, and particularly Tihar jail or Arthur Road jail, where he is likely to be put up. And that also could count. But as far as this particular ground is concerned, let me make it very clear that Government of India, with the help of the Crown prosecution, which is prosecuting Vijay Mallya, can always assure the courts, authorities in London, that we will ensure that no subhuman conditions would be there in the prisons, and we shall ensure and we undertake that we will keep him in best possible human conditions. But that is not the main ground. There can be several other issues that he may raise. For example, he may challenge the evidence, because see, the charge sheet will have to be also examined as far as the defense is concerned, and they can try to pick up loopholes here or there and try to project that or exaggerate it before the court. But one thing must be remembered, that this exercise of challenging evidence cannot be conducted before this Westminster court, because the magistrate who is appointed as an extradition court in London City, namely now in Westminster Magistrates Court, does not have the powers to go into the facts or the merits of the accusations. He can only on the top see whether the papers are all proper, whether the request is suffering from any legal infirmity, and if the defense wants to go into evidence, the court would say that, I'm sorry, I cannot go into the evidence because I don't have those powers. And therefore, they will have to move the venue. The accused, Vijay Mallya's team will have to go to the High Court for questioning the veracity of the material against him, putting up his defense. And that also can be very, very, in detail, great detail. The High Court of London would examine that at a later stage, and therefore we should be fully prepared. We must not be overconfident. Our briefing by Indian counsel to the Crown prosecution, who is in fact conducting this extradition, will have to spare no efforts to see that we have a foolproof case.
Mr. Memon, I want to ask you one more question, essentially based on procedure. Now, we've seen at the Westminster Magistrates Court recently they've rejected two long pending extradition requests. One was that of alleged bookie Sanjeev Kumar Chawla. Now, that was on human rights grounds, based on the conditions in Delhi's Tihar jail. There's a number of expert witnesses in this case. How much will all of that really be factored in, and how much do you think that would really weigh in on Mr. Mallya's proceedings in the Westminster Court?
Certainly, in Mallya's case also, they would try to encash from previous orders the precedents of the other extradition requests, where the extradition requests have been turned down. And if the the question on which the extradition was negated in the past, if the similar issue is raised here, the court will be bound by the precedent. And therefore, I'm afraid that we should be thoroughly prepared on these are the grounds which are outside the merits of the case. You see, that as to how is this man going to be looked after, that he would not be hanged, and that he would not be awarded a sentence beyond certain period, and that he would be looked after, there is no threat to his life. All these questions are outside the merits of accusation, which of course would also matter, because see, in UK the standard of human right is higher than what we believe, or our people believe, or our administration believes. So therefore we'll have to be extra cautious in placing before the concerned court, which would be examining our request, that they should be satisfied with regard to our bona fide.
Right, Ms. Memon, really appreciate you speaking with us at Bloomberg Quint. Now, on to a very interesting story from the day. Shares of Biocon climbed as much as 15% after the biopharmaceutical firm and Mylan NV became the first drug makers to get the US Food and Drug Administration's approval for a biosimilar used to treat breast and stomach cancers. Biocon chairman and managing director Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw said the drug is a $6 billion opportunity for the two partners.
This is a $6 billion global opportunity. The US opportunity itself is $2.5 billion. Europe is $1.5 billion. I don't see too much of competition in the early years because we just have a few players who are developing this program. So we do expect 3 to 4 players both in Europe and US. This is a profit share arrangement. Of course, Mylan gets the bigger share of the profit, but we get a pretty decent return as well. So I believe that this is a very, very important partnership which has succeeded in bringing the first very important program to the US market. And we expect that the pipeline of products that we have will also basically follow this very important approval.
Now, trouble continues to follow Reliance Communications. A public relations firm, Fortuna, became the latest company to seek initiation of insolvency proceedings against the Anil Ambani firm. In its request with the Mumbai bench of NCLT, Fortuna said that RCom owes them 43 lakh rupees. NCLT will hear Fortuna's case on the 19th of December. Fortuna joins China Development Bank, Manipal Technologies and the Indian unit of Ericsson AB asking for insolvency proceedings against the Anil Ambani-led company. RCom has not responded to Bloomberg Quint's email seeking comments on the story.
Well, Infosys has found a new managing director and CEO nearly 4 months after Vishal Sikka left the company. The 53-year-old Salil Parekh, who was an executive board council member at Capgemini, will take over the reins on January 2nd. In its reaction, brokerage house CLSA said that the choice was promising and added that it was the best of possible outcomes. Credit Suisse said that the appointment is a good combination of both worlds and will not lead to a significant change in strategic direction for the company. Nikki Mirchandani sums up the reaction of the brokerages to the new choice of CEO at Infosys in this report.
So 3 brokerages have come out with a report after the appointment of Mr. Parekh, and pretty much everybody has sounded optimistic on this appointment. They have all kept their rating unchanged and the target price unchanged at what they were. Now remember, Credit Suisse and UBS had a neutral rating on the stock, while HSBC had a buy recommendation for the stock. If you look at what Credit Suisse just has to say, that you just mentioned that the new CEO is a good combination of both worlds. It will not bring any material change in the strategy of the company, which is improving the productivity in the legacy levels as well as investing in the new areas for that matter. They do not see any major term, in fact, in the near term, be it in the positive side or for that matter in the negative side of the game. However, they do feel that the appointments of Salil has probably the best outcome that the company could see, at least from a medium term perspective. What HSBC has to say, it says that Salil seems to be a very balanced and a positive choice for Infosys. It says that, however, it sounds a caution in terms of the potential attrition in the top management post a big management change, which is a phenomena which is almost pretty much prevalent in all the company and not just Infosys for that matter. And it continues to value the stock at 16.5 times its 1-year forward price to earning ratio. UBS also pretty much says that this appointment is a stock booster for the company, and it, however, allays the concern to an extent that the company now stands in a position to attract the senior position, and given that it is post recent board issue, it also says that the company, this will allow the company to focus back on its business at its usual. It says that a limited downside for Infosys for FY19 before the revenue guidance announcement. It will not be surprised if it sees a lower than expected revenue guidance coming in from the company for FY19. However, it says that it would like to await the new CEO's vision, given its background and the potential for a transformative strategy for that matter.
Now, the Bombay High Court today paved the way for the merger of the National Spot Exchange with its parent 63 Moons Technologies. While dismissing a plea opposing the merger, the court gave the company 12 weeks to appeal before the Supreme Court. Shivani Saxena gets us all the details in this report.
A 2-judge bench of the Bombay High Court has effectively blessed the merger between Financial Technologies, or 63 Moons as it's now known as, and its wholly owned subsidiary NSEL, or National Spot Exchange Limited. The FTIL had gone before the Bombay High Court, opposing the merger between the government-encouraged merger between the two entities on grounds that it violates certain corporate law principles such as piercing the corporate veil, as well as the limited liability partnership. In fact, some of its smaller shareholders had also opposed this particular merger. However, Bombay High Court has overseen all of this and said yes, it is in greater public interest to merge the two companies, and has granted FTIL a 12-week period before which it can approach the Supreme Court to oppose this specific merger. FTIL in a press release has stated that it will go before the Supreme Court to appeal against this order. You will recall that back in 2016, Ministry of Corporate Affairs had in fact directed the two companies be merged in larger public interest, something that it did under the erstwhile Companies Law. The NSEL had defrauded its investors of a sum of approximately 5,600 crores, and Ministry of Corporate Affairs thought that it was in the larger interest of the stakeholders and the creditors of the company that the two companies be merged such that the capital and assets of the both companies are combined. It remains to be seen what the arguments before the Supreme Court will be and what the Supreme Court will hold in this specific matter.
Well, global rating agency Fitch has cut India's growth outlook. In a release, Fitch said that the pickup in GDP growth in Q2 has been weaker than expected and cut India's GDP growth forecast to 6.7% for 2017-18 from 6.9% earlier. The ratings agency has also cut FY19 growth forecast to 7.3% from 7.4% estimated earlier.
Now, Indian equity benchmarks snapped a 4-day losing streak led by gains in Infosys. However, benchmarks swung between gains and losses for most part of the day. Index heavyweights like Reliance Industries, HDFC Bank and Maruti Suzuki came under selling pressure. IT sector posted strong gains while the telecom sector was the top loser.
Well, the 15th Finance Commission held its first meeting in New Delhi today and discussed ways to address the broad terms of reference given to the committee. One of the terms of reference for the Commission is to recommend ways to better distribute taxes amongst states and the central government.
Now, the committee will also look into the impact of GST on states, including the compensation that states have to be paid for revenue losses in the first 5 years. Speaking after the meeting, Chairman N.K. Singh said that it was too early to assess the tax implications of the GST.
We went over the terms of reference which has been given to us by the President and the best way of addressing those wide-ranging terms of reference, the procedures for consultation, the broad structure of ensuring that all stakeholders are fully consulted, that particularly in respect of state governments. We did not discuss that. It is far too premature to comment on an issue of that kind. That will require very careful deliberation and consideration.
Now, a low-pressure area over Southeast Bay of Bengal is likely to become a depression and move towards North Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh by the 6th of December. The Regional Meteorological Centre has said this today. The Director of Area Cyclone Warning Centre, S. Balachandran, said the low-pressure system was likely to turn into a depression in the next 24 hours. Cyclone OK has already crippled lives in Kanyakumari district in Tamil Nadu and parts of Kerala. Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar has provided 2 crore rupees from the CM's relief fund to the Prime Minister's National Relief Fund towards the relief of victims. OK is likely to move north and weaken gradually before it crosses Gujarat and North Maharashtra coasts. The Indian Met Department has given these details.
In what comes as a relief, Agriculture Secretary S.K. Patnaik has said that onion and tomato prices are likely to fall in retail markets in the next 15 to 20 days. The fall in prices is prompted by the arrival of fresh crops. Claiming that the price rise in these two common kitchen staples is a temporary problem, he said that planting of onion in Maharashtra is good and will help ease the prices. Remember, onion and tomato prices are in the range of 70 to 80 rupees a kilo in the national capital and other major cities. The produce has been affected due to unseasonal rains and dry spells in some parts of the country.
Now, the National Green Tribunal has slammed the Delhi government for not filing an action plan to curb air pollution and hit out at authorities for holding the India-Sri Lanka match. NGT directed the AAP government to file a report within 48 hours. This comes after the visiting Sri Lankan cricket team complained of poor air quality and wore masks in the ongoing test match at the Firoz Shah Kotla Stadium. NGT asked why the game was held if the air quality was so bad. It also pulled up Delhi government for not introducing the odd-even scheme when the air quality was severe.
Well, it turns out it's not just the Delhi government that's been trying to abate pollution levels of late. The Mayor of London has been tackling an air pollution problem back home since he took office in 2016 and has come up with a number of innovative solutions like T-charge, ultra-low emission zones and the like. I caught up with him earlier today to understand if Delhi can learn any lessons from the City of London. Here's what he had to say.
Well, I think we've got to be very careful, one city lecturing another city. This is a partnership approach. And there are challenges in Delhi, in London, in New York, in Mumbai around air quality. Actually, urbanization, people moving from villages to cities around the world is leading to complex issues. It's a fantastic thing in relation to bringing people together. And we've got to think innovatively about how we get more people living in confined spaces but not making the environment worse. So in London, we're doing things like making sure we encourage more people to walk, cycle and use public transport. We're also making sure the public transport is clean, not diesel, not petrol, but electric or hybrid or hydrogen. Delhi's doing some really exciting things as well. So I'm a firm believer in learning from each other. We're equal partners, and I go to Delhi in a spirit of fraternity and respect, and of course anything we can do to work together, I'm happy to do.
Well, at a time when the Mayor of London is touring India with the message London is open, the UK government seems to have adopted a strict stand on immigration by changing visa norms in November. That's really been impacting Indians. I asked the Mayor whether he thought this was a cause for concern, considering the number of Indians flocking to study and work in the US, Canada and Australia instead. Here's what he had to say.
Actually, Brexit necessitates a change of policy around immigration. We've got to recognise that actually us leaving the European Union poses huge challenges, and the best way to mitigate that is to attract talent from India. I'm very critical of the British government's policy to remove the post-study work visa. That's led to talented Indians choosing to go to study in America or Canada or Australia, and all the evidence is if you're talented enough to be an overseas student, you will go on to become a chief executive, an innovator, an investor, but also you fall in love with the city you studied in. And we are losing this huge soft power, this alumni.
Now, veteran actor Shashi Kapoor passed away today. He was 79. He was most known for his roles in films like Diwar, Kabhi Kabhi, Namak Halal and Kala Patthar. The Bollywood legend was admitted to Kokilaben Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital in Mumbai following a prolonged illness. The funeral will be held tomorrow morning.
Well, that's very sad news coming from Bollywood, but for all of you watching, thanks so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for Primetime Debate.